Hey, Senor Invisible.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good,
Yeah,
good.
I'm gonna try to go back to camera, but I think we're
That's working. I
no,
can
it's
see you.
lagging. Yeah, it's what I was saying 10 minutes ago.
You gotta just put up like an avatar or something.
So what's happening, buddy?
Just digging through stuff. What did I see? I did see that Microsoft Temasek SoftBank investment into Consensys, which I thought was huge. It doubled their valuation to $7 billion, and it doesn't really get bigger than that money. Temasek is a group out of Singapore that I've worked with in the past. SoftBank, I don't really know anybody there, but everybody knows SoftBank, and Microsoft, of course. But yeah, Web3 is what they're all about. So
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I tweeted the headline that said that they had raised, and it said that they were going to redesign MetaMask and hire 600 people. So I
Yeah,
changed the headline to read uh, redesign MetaMask to look like Chase.com, and they're going to hire 300 of the 600, 300 to be Chase.com, Chase bank tellers. So,
bank tellers.
yeah, you remember the whole thing last week about Chase buying in the whole thing with the MetaMask shares.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
No, I was just I guess there are still tellers. I mean, I never go in the
no,
bank anymore.
I'm being sarcastic. I was joking.
Back to 1980s. Yeah, got
That
it.
he's like, when you take Microsoft and SoftBank money, it's going to be real interesting to see how far these guys are going to go with Web3. So I don't know. Look, I'm skeptical with him right now. So we'll see what happens. But hey, can't argue with the success in raising money. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, all the products on Ethereum most of the big ones seem to be coming from them. They're definitely the biggest developers or commercializer there on that chain. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's more betting. I think what's interesting to me is, I was kind of thinking about, just how gas fees are reasonable on Ethereum again.
Yeah.
Like I was moving stuff for like, $10 the other
Yeah.
day.
No, I had like $3 and $5 transactions yesterday. I was like, wow, what the fuck?
So that makes me start thinking, okay, so what does that mean for all these other chains? It's almost like
That's a
Avalanche
good
is
point.
almost the same price as Ethereum right now.
Yeah. Well,
Phantom's not.
I think that's a product of activity too. All of those, the other proof of stake chains, the more transactions, the more efficient they'll get in terms of being compared to Ethereum. Once the activity goes back up on Ethereum, you'll see, you'll see those high fees again. But when Ethereum moves to proof of stake, if it maintains like that $5 to $10 range for a transaction, they're not going to get play to earn, or any of that stuff that are transactions that are, 10 or $15, but they're certainly going to be able to sustain a lot more trading volume on Ethereum. I mean, it'll make people say, well, you know what, I'll stay over here because it's easier.
It's a gold standard.
So, yeah, exactly. So no, absolutely. Speaking of while we're on Ethereum, let me jump in on this real quick. So,
Cool.
Read this pretty fascinating article, a bit long in terms of its analysis, but it's called "One Pool to Rule Them All," and I think that the author has a relationship to Rocket Pool. But here's the bottom line on it: Lido, not sure how to pronounce it, is, if everyone will remember, is the top Ethereum staking solution. So if you don't have 32 ETH, or you don't want to deal with technical hassle of setting up a node on the Ethereum blockchain, you can deposit Ethereum to Lido and get something like 4.3% back for staking. So you're earning 4.3% more ETH. And while ETH is down, to me, that's a pretty friggin' good investment, because if you consider the exponential returns on Ethereum and Bitcoin from bear market to bull, having more, if you're a believer, like we were just talking about, as Ethereum as the gold standard, then, accumulating 4.3% more of that is an awesome thing. But what happens is when you deposit on Lido, you also get the STETH token from them, which is your receipt for your staking. The STETH token is now available to be invested with, staked, yield farmed on multiple protocols. So you can see, I'm going to show you some examples of some uses of it in a minute, but you can see opportunities to earn, anywhere from another 5 to 6, 7, 8% on top of the 4.3%. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for staking on Lido. But here's the problem that this article points out. The problem is that, first of all, Lido is centralized. It's not a decentralized offering. So the staking setup, everything else is managed centrally, on servers and deployed out to everyone. But the second thing is they are amassing almost all of the staking that's being done on Ethereum. And what that does is presents security risks, right? It presents attack risks, because having a centralized control over a protocol that owns, say, 51% of the staking, controlling transactions going through, could be a very dangerous thing. So last year, Rocket Pool launched. And now Rocket Pool is a completely decentralized Ethereum staking protocol. So the idea is everything is run via smart contracts. There's no centralized entity and control of the nodes, nothing. They currently have, I think it's like 4% of the existing staking on Ethereum. So they've grown very fast out of the gate. I think they launched in November or December. But the Rocket Pool tokens, the receipt tokens, are also now available to be staked. And there is a new pool that allows you to stake Rocket Pool receipt tokens with the STETH tokens, and earning upwards of 10% total between the two. So you could distribute your ETH staking between Lido and between Rocket Pool and gain some nice revenue. But the point was that the risk of having everyone staking at Lido is that with a centralized entity, it puts a security risk on Ethereum. So this article is essentially saying, hey, here's ways to earn extra money because you were in Rocket Pool, and you should probably be in Rocket Pool because we need to distribute the staking control of the Ethereum chain away from just one entity that has a centralized protocol. So I thought that was really interesting. I'll post this in the show notes, but it's a really, really in-depth review. It gets into how to set up Rocket Pool staking with the receipts from the Lido staking and gain, I believe it was upwards of 10 to 13% interest or yield on that staking. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. If you're a believer in Ethereum, like we were just talking about, there's a lot of opportunities to make some money, especially in a bull market if you want to be a little more conservative. Now, the other thing that came up on Ethereum was this set of, so Crypto Pragmatist, which is at Crypto Prag, created a list of, hey, if you believe in Ethereum, here are a bunch of strategies for Ethereum to earn extra interest. So first one is stake solo and run a validator. That means you're willing to, you have 32 ETH and you want to set up the validator yourself, deal with all the tech, you can gain 4.8% interest. The second one is that is the other validators like Lido and Rocket Pool, just going to one of them and staking and earning 4.3% interest. And then the next one he brought up is this thing called ETH Maxi. And he says it's a product that allows users to earn extra yield via leverage borrowing. It uses Aave to pump up staking APRs by 3.09%. You cannot get liquidated if ETH price fluctuates, but you can get liquidated if Lido staked ETH depegs from the price of Ethereum. That rate is 13%. Anchor Protocol pays an APR in ANC tokens to those who borrow against ETH. On top of that, it lets you borrow UST. So the steps are borrow against your ETH, get UST, pay 1.72% on your ETH, but you'll earn 19.49% on your UST. So your aggregate rate is 17.77% gain. ETH liquidity providing. So this is the 50-50. This is it. This is the 50-50 WST ETH and Rocket Pool ETH staking on Curve will earn you 10.3%. And here there's no way to get liquidated with their leverage. In Jones DAO, if you deposit ETH into a Jones DAO vault and they take care of creating option strategies for you, there's a slight risk of losing some of the upside depending on how ETH price moves. Historically, it's done well, 10.46% earnings. And then he has several other honorable mentions. This one actually sounded very interesting. I haven't looked into it. I really want to take a look at it. It's called Squeeze. And it says Squeeze is a new type of leverage instrument that allows you to leverage without getting liquidated while earning extra compounding returns. You have to pay about 0.3% a day for a position, but if ETH moves over a short time period, you are retiring. So I definitely want to take a look at that and understand it better. Anyway, some good offerings for staking ETH and things you can do to earn more with ETH. So I thought that was cool. One more bit of ETH news. So Ethereum is in the stages of merge testing. The good news is that the test was mostly successful, save for one minor bug. So the reason this Ethereum upgrade is taking so long is that they are methodically going through and testing every stage of the upgrades. But Ethereum merge testing seems to have functioned the way it was supposed to. So I guess we're getting closer and closer to the first phase of the upgrade to version 2, which is the merge that will happen. And hopefully it goes as well as it did on the test. So, all right, Joe, you got anything?
Yeah, I just
realized I'm not sharing my screen, Joe.
Oh, yeah, I just thought you were reading it. No, when you started talking about those yields, high single digits, low teens, I decided just to look over on SushiSwap Polygon and see what was going on there. And, interesting, I see like an Alchemix ETH pool at 64%.
Nice.
I see, is Lido LDO? Is that the token?
I believe so.
Well,
I think it is.
LDO ETH for 38%. Couple of other ones, a lot. CVX ETH 67. A lot of stuff in the ETH CRV 36%. Phantom ETH 28%. So there's still. When you were saying that, I was going, is that what DeFi has gotten down to? We're now in high single digits.
Well, you have to remember these aren't liquidity pools that can have impermanent loss. The ones I was reading through, right? These are very conservative plays, people that just want to earn more ETH, basically. But those are all pretty much blue chip offerings in those pairs you just read off. So those should be good places to park it if you're cool with providing liquidity that way.
Well, some are like ETH and paired with the stable.
That's even better.
Like 10 to 12.5%. And then ETH and Alchemix, I'm going to guess those tend to move in tandem.
They're pretty tight.
Yeah. So 63%. I don't really worry. Unless Alchemix got hacked or something, I don't really see, or ETH tanked the merge or something. I think you're okay on these, but I just was looking to see if there's any of these 1,000,000% APRs anywhere.
Yeah, for ETH, probably not, but
no.
Those are still some awesome APYs. Like I would take those earnings off of each of those and those tokens and buy more ETH, right? You could automate that through and then just keep adding to the pile of ETH. So definitely think that makes sense. So let me see if I can share without shutting my computer down here. So it was a big day yesterday. I'm of course I can't because I'm in Chrome and it's not set up to share. Anyway, this was a big day because I'm an investor in Alchemix that you just brought up. And yesterday, version 2 of Alchemix launched. And this is to me, and I tweeted this out, that this is to me is big, not only for Alchemix, because it's a massive, massive improvement, but it's also big for DeFi, because I personally believe that Alchemix is going to be one of the first protocols to really kind of be able to permeate out into the real world. And version 2 not only makes it multi-chain, so Phantom is the first chain that they're deploying to, but it also makes it completely composable. So anyone now can utilize the Alchemix protocol in other applications, applications out in the real world, other DeFi applications. So these self-paying loan capabilities are going to be built into it. The other really cool thing is they are going to be adding, currently, when you deposit and your loan is getting paid back with these vaults. Real quick, I guess I should explain it to people that aren't familiar with Alchemix. Alchemix is a self-repaying loan system, and the concept is basically this. As of up to today, you could deposit Ethereum or USD, and let's say you deposited $100,000 in DAI, right? You can immediately take a loan for $50,000 of that DAI back in the form of ALUSD, which is Alchemix's stablecoin. So you've essentially deposited 100,000, you take 50,000 out. You cannot be liquidated on the loan, and the loan is self-repaying. So over, say, a 5 to 7 year period, the money you deposited is invested in vaults, and conservative vaults right now, invested in vaults, and pays back 1, 2, 3, 5% interest, whatever those vaults are doing right now. But you never have to make a payment on that loan. You never have to do anything. It just self-repays, and as the money comes in repaying it, you can start taking your money back out. So it's an awesome system. It's had a great success. Of course, just like everything else, its price tanked in the last couple of months. And frankly, to me, it's an opportunity to DCA on this trade, because I really think that Alchemix and their model is going to blow up. So the new thing that they've added to it is they're going to have other staking, other deposit options. They are going to allow for adding and picking which yield farm or vault you want to be used to repay your loan. So you can go after more aggressive vaults with a higher APY if you want to. I don't think they're going to go crazy with, things probably won't ever be over like 5%. But the ones they pick, you'll be able to make a decision to do that. It's also composable, so the entire protocol is available for other protocols to use, either in Web3 or out in the Web2 world. Multi-chain. So there's just a ton of opportunity on this platform. And frankly, I think there's a ton of ways for people to utilize this platform to make money beyond and as an investor, but as a builder. So I just think this is a really big step. I think that Alchemix is going to be one of the first, several plays that actually really sees the light of day out in real life. So I'm really excited for them.
Was it all? I'm just on their website again. I like the redo, but
yeah.
Was it always 50% LTV? I thought when I was in that last year, it was higher.
No, it's always been 50%.
Okay, yeah, because I guess it must have been Aave and the others that were in that 70% plus range. I think BTC is 85% there.
Yeah.
And also, I was curious. I mean, do they KYC?
No.
I don't remember KYC.
No,
okay,
no,
yeah.
there's no KYC. No,
because I think the limitation here with them is I mean, as much as I like the self-paying loans, it sounds a lot like revenue, and I'm wondering how people sort that out.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't earn any returns and take any loans out like that, but I'm just curious how they deal with that. If you have to wait till it's liquid, it's finished, and then offset it revenue against wherever you are on the BTC you park there or ETH you park there, it's tricky.
Well, and I think that there are people, this is when I first discovered Alchemix, I climbed deep into the Discord and how people were using it and what they were thinking about. And there is an argument to be made that, and again, you would have to talk to an accountant. I'm sure as hell not one. But there's an argument to be made that rather than cashing out the money that comes in, is you roll everything that pays back into more loans, right? So you never realize it as income. Theoretically, again, I'm not an accountant or a tax advisor, but you never realize it as income. You immediately roll it back into more loans. And then is that income? I don't know. But it's an interesting concept. And there were people that were saying they were planning on kind of living on this, right? Just constantly reborrowing everything that comes in so that they're essentially living on the borrowed funds, and the loans are just perpetually getting paid back, and they're reborrowing. I don't know how realistic that is, but that's one of the things that people were talking about. So
sounds like a personal problem for everyone to navigate on their own.
Definitely. I'm sure as hell not going to tell them how to navigate it. Yeah, I'll put this in the show notes, but I did do a pretty popular thread on use cases for Alchemix, savings account, no loss startup funding. So an investor that wants to invest in a startup, put $5 million. You want to invest $2.5 million in a startup, put $5 million in an Alchemix loan, give the startup $2.5 million. Your money is risk-free invested in the startup, right? So charities, you want to donate to a charity, $10 million or $5 million, deposit $10 million, give the charity $5 million, or the charity takes the money they raise and does the same thing. So there's any number of things. The classic area is you want to buy a new Tesla, deposit 120,000, take 60,000 out. At the end of 5 years, your Tesla's paid for and you've never made a car payment. So that's those are some of the potential use cases there for that. Let me see what else. Oh, last thing I had, Joe, was Phantom. I don't even know why this came up on my radar, because I haven't looked at Phantom in a long time. Which is again, it is that was one of the Olympus DAO forks.
Oh, PHA.
No, it's FANTOHM.
Phantom.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So, and I remember having read their documents. You and I talked about them at some point. I remember having read their documents that I was fairly impressed with kind of their model, how they were planning to invest in some other projects, and the way they were functioning. Well, they've just launched a multi-chain swap. I haven't taken a deep dive into it, but it's interesting to see them kind of building out new products around the protocol. So I'll take a deeper dive on it, see if there's anything of value there or not, and let you know. Speaking of Olympus DAO, one of my favorite follows on Twitter is Jack Newald, JackNiewold. Always has really thoughtful things to say, awesome investment strategies. Highly recommend everybody following him. Well, he had a pretty rough day on Twitter yesterday, because he tweeted out he thought that Olympus DAO, because they were building new products on top of Olympus DAO, that they essentially had given up on becoming a reserve currency and were no longer going to be one. He did clarify later in the tweet storm that followed him that he's actually a holder of OHM and has stakes just like everybody else. Here's the thing. Everyone in the Olympus community got outraged with him, started bashing him. The social media coordinator, Jaws, for Olympus DAO, or growth manager, whatever he is, started kind of going after him. Everybody went after him very hardcore. But I think that the whole thing, and I tweeted this yesterday, I think the whole thing that was missed in this is not Jack Newald's fault, right? This is Olympus DAO's fault. Because if you haven't abandoned that mission, if you still believe it's viable, if you still believe that building these products on top of Olympus DAO makes sense because it helps you get to reserve currency, then you need to figure out how to fucking communicate that. Because this is a guy that's deeply tied into the DeFi ecosystem, right? If he is making that assumption about the fact that you've abandoned reserve currency status, then you can safely say that a lot of people have done that, and that's why people aren't buying OHM right now. And that is nobody's fault but Olympus DAO communications and marketing, right? If you're still pursuing this mission, if this is still the key of what you're doing, if you're building products on top of it and you want people to know about them, then this is a communications and marketing failure. This is not a Jack Newald failure. And I tweeted that yesterday because that's something that I think all projects have to examine. We all, everybody gets pissed off with FUD and people coming in and saying mean shit about your project, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is, if that's happening, you haven't communicated effectively, right? You haven't. Somebody like Jack Newald isn't out to FUD you. He doesn't. He that's not how he operates. He is just making a comment on what he sees and what he perceives. And if the general population in DeFi perceives that you no longer are going to be reserve currency and that you no longer have that status, then guess what? You've got a problem, and it's a communication problem and a marketing problem. It's not a Jack Newald FUD problem. So I think that's something that people need to be thinking about.
Well, question, I never bought any at all, thank goodness at this point. But is it still supposed to go to $1 per? I mean, is that the reserve currency play when it goes to $1?
That's the reserve play, but the backing is higher than that. The backing is right around where it is. I think it's in the
20 something,
high 20s, low 30s. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it today.
I was wondering if it was getting a bounce because Klima's up 50% over the last 2 days, and I was curious.
That's awesome.
Was going. I mean, look, you don't shoot the messenger. And this is the kind of thing I have with, like you said, the communication guys on a lot of these teams, because I see it in a lot of the Telegram chats I'm in. Anybody says anything, it's they just get attacked.
Exactly.
And you're like, it just shows weakness. It's like you're hiding something if you're reacting like that. It doesn't, you don't go on defense. You go on offense, but in a way that sells where you're going or what you're trying to do. And so I think, for Jaws and all these guys to pile in, I'm curious, what did he exactly say, Jaws?
He was basically saying, you're crazy. This is exactly the plan. We're still a reserve currency. We're building every day to that. It takes a long time to do this. Look at all the products. The products that are being built on top of Olympus DAO are, number one, mostly being built by the community. And number two, that has been a part of the plan from day one, which is fine. It has been. It was in the original documents that they expected to build an ecosystem around this thing so that it would support being a reserve currency. That's great. But guess what? If Jack Newald, who's actually bought your fucking token and dives deep in DeFi protocols all the time, doesn't know that, that means you failed at communicating.
Yeah.
And you're right, Joe. I mean, it's like, look, there are people that will FUD. And there are people that just want to spread negative shit, or people that have opened a short position on you and are trying to fuck you over. I'm fine with going after those people. I've done that for clients before myself, but you don't take somebody like a Jack Newald and send the pack of 1,000 fucking Ohmies after him and try to tear him apart when the perception that he has is a very real thing. And so, and most of the community has doubts, and guess what? Your price keeps dropping. So maybe the entire market thinks that, and you haven't done a great job of communicating. So look, at the end of the day, I know they're back on their heels and they're in defense and they're, feeling sensitive about attacks. I get it. I understand. That's why the community is responding, because they've lost money and they're pissy about that. But don't, stop and look and say, wait a minute, is this a reasonable critique? Is this something we're missing? Are we not communicating this? So
and also then you send, I don't know what Ohmies, they're not Frog Nation, but whatever their nickname is, and you sick everybody on them. Then he starts thinking, as a guy who digs into DeFi protocols all the time, he starts thinking, wait, maybe there's something really wrong here that I haven't picked up on.
Exactly.
And then he starts digging deeper.
Yeah.
I think if I was Ohm right now, I would be, look, they're getting dragged down by the whole Time Wonderland fiasco, and their reserve currency aspirations as well. It's like, start putting out there why you're different.
Exactly.
And what you've done and succeeded at. Like, if I was the Jaws guy, I would have led with something like, hey, I could see how there's some confusion out there, but look at all these dApps that have been built by the community on this chain.
Right.
Look at where we started and where we've gotten to. And we hit speed bumps like everybody else, and we're dealing with the Daniel Sesta and Sifu fallout like everybody in this space is. But we're a real company, and we're trying to build these, and we're attacking these vertical markets to build product in. And I would just go and take the edge out of it.
Right. And even better, like Jack Newald has a shit ton of followers. Say, hey, Jack, let's get on a Twitter Spaces right now and let's talk about this, because this is great, because it means that maybe we aren't doing that great a job communicating, right? Get all of his followers paying attention to you. I mean, I don't know.
Red team it or something.
Yeah,
Bring him in
don't
for
default to angry.
Hackathon, red team thing. Help us find what problems we have.
Exactly.
But a lot of these, Yeah, a lot of these guys are so sensitive that, so thin-skinned that they just react.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always like to tell this story about a buddy's girlfriend where this is back in, pre-email days even. But she would get so pissed off at him or somebody else, she would write these flaming letters trashing everybody. And she would run down, because I talked to her about it a couple of times, and she'd run down to the mailbox and she would force herself to throw it in the mailbox and close the door before she could not do it. And I'm like, and then she regrets it instantly. Like, oh my God, why did I send that? And, and I think with email and Twitter and all of that, that impulse there, is if someone's already kind of thin-skinned, the impulse, it's very hard for them to control it because they have to say something or they feel like they have to.
Yeah.
But I just say, take a breath, man. Hold on for a second. Write the thing out somewhere else, compose it, then post it.
Exactly.
And think through, what are your objectives? What's the objective there? It's to get Jack Newald converted back into 100% OMI,
educate him,
basically.
Just educate him so he understands what's coming, and then he can point out that, hey, you haven't communicated that. Let me show you what I would have wanted to hear.
But don't flame him. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, that just gets. Because then everybody goes, wait, what? So I am amazed to see that type of stuff going on, but it's also a youth thing too.
True.
I think that as you've done that before, not you, but I'm saying me, everybody. You learn that okay, keeping my mouth shut for a second. Of course, in my day, you'd get punched in the mouth if you said half this shit. But it's like, so you learn to kind of filter a little bit. But unfiltered digital culture is problematic sometimes. So
yeah, no.
But what do you think of Where do you think they're going at this point?
I actually waffle back and forth on them because I am engaged with a lot of people in that community. I'm in a private DM group on Twitter, right? And these are guys that are like massive. These are big whales in this group, like guys who have a lot. And these guys, it's either it's bravado or they're confident, And these are people that do serious analysis of the numbers. They're serious traders, et cetera, et cetera. They are absolutely convinced that they're just riding this out and they're buying more. Like if everything they say in this group is true, they're DCAing, they're doubling down, they're buying more. They truly believe that as this thing and the market stabilizes, that Olympus is going to come out of this as a reserve currency. At the very least, they believe there's massive upside to regain what they've lost in this dump. But I think they're actually believers in the formula and the concept and the math. I mean, just because they have a lot of money doesn't mean they're very smart, but they seem to be intelligent, smart people. For me, I go back and forth. And I think the primary reason I go back and forth is because of the communication, right? I don't see them explaining conceptually why this is so important, why building these other products is important, how it's going to boost the value of Ohm. The other thing I think that's really missing here is a model that has some kind of dividend or revenue back out to the holders, right? The holders are still standing here counting on the price to go back up, which is always dangerous, especially now, right? Or they're counting on some of these other deals to pay some revenue because they've invested in other protocols. So I think there needs to be some soul searching on value to holders, value to members of community, and how they provide that. I don't have the answers to it, but I think that's why they're losing holders and people aren't buying because people don't see the upside, and they saw what happened with Wonderland, exactly like you said.
Yeah. So. No, I'd like to see. I mean, I remember they were the first one that talked about using the treasury for other projects.
Yep. I'm still here. Hold on. Letting the dog in.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I'd really like to see, updates on that vision. If I was a holder, because it seems to me that that's what gets everybody out of the, wherever it's priced at right now, $25, $30.
I will tell you, they have been investing, and they've actually even made some offers to buy out some of the protocols that are shutting down. So they are doing that. I just don't think they're publicizing it enough.
Yeah, because that's the only way you scale and get enough revenue to get the price back up.
Well, and I think it goes back to what we've talked about a lot, right? Which is the communication channels in DeFi are really difficult to keep up with. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to know what the fuck's going on with projects. Even if you're in their Discord, it's hard to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, no, I think it is hard. I mean, because the way it starts, you're getting people in on a high APY, the 3-3 plays and rebasing, and everybody sees it goes up, 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 and then all of a sudden, I don't know, are they still rebasing or did they stop all that?
No, it's still rebasing, but it's under,
Okay.
like 900%. I mean, the community voted to lower the APY, and the plan is for it to continue to drop off.
I mean, that's the way it has to go. I mean,
Of course.
you can't. It does their startup APYs, and
Yep.
the fact that it's now down to a conservative 900% is, it's. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people might still be attracted by that.
Yeah, of course.
Newbies coming in feeling like they missed it.
Absolutely.
All the normies and TradeFi people, they all remember Amazon at $8.
Yeah.
In 2001 time frame. So, and that's the one everybody talks about. So to me, I think if these guys can communicate a vision, I don't know if Amazon at that point, I remember they were still just doing books.
Yeah.
And, this is before it got into the Prime and all the other things that they do. And,
Yep.
buying, I think, Target and Whole Foods and all this other stuff. If Ohm could follow a trajectory like that and communicate it,
Yeah.
I think they'd get people interested and prove
Totally
they can
agree.
execute.
Yeah,
beyond
totally agree with you.
beyond just a protocol.
Yeah.
Because that's
Totally
something that
agree.
Time Wonderland failed at, miserably.
Oh yeah.
As did, the only other one that I'm around that did anything like that is Klima. And, they seem to be getting ready to dig their way out, but it's only off of traditional metrics and things like that. It's not.
Which is pretty impressive, man, because I had almost kind of mentally written them off.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know I remember them talking about it, but I think the whole idea of Klima Infinity and it being kind of a, a enterprise sort of facing entity. And then I was thinking corporates, but then I wasn't thinking about Bitcoin miners and, Uniswap and groups like that. And the big, heavy Ethereum dApps, because then you're like, wow, that fits because they get it.
Yeah.
And, Sushi Swap's probably going to do something because they have the Klima BCT pairs on there, the carbon credit thing. So I think that kind of look, or that kind of communication would be very helpful to Olympus. I mean, I know they're focusing on like GameFi and a few other things and a few vertical markets, maybe even metaverse-y stuff. One other thing I can't remember, but obviously probably financial protocols. But, pick a vertical and own it.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, like they also need to gather, there are all these projects being built, like literally significant projects being built on all of these, around Ohm from the community. And there's not one place where everybody has the opportunity to talk about the project and what's being done and how it involves Ohm. And so I think there's, I think there's an opportunity for them, like you were saying, to really up their game and communicate. And then the other thing is this: there are a lot of deals, biz dev deals that are happening with Ohm, but primarily those are protocol to protocol type deals, which are great, right? People are leveraging the bonding, or there's some other component of other projects buying Ohm or whatever, right? There are these protocol to protocol offerings, B2B type offerings that are happening. But take a look at what Sam Kazemian does on Frax. Like, you can't go almost any major chain and DEX and yield farm on crypt in DeFi and not see Frax. I mean, it's fucking everywhere. And that's because he is a deal machine. And that presence of mind, continues to boost Frax. I mean, they're the number one algorithmic stablecoin in the world, right? Because they are fucking everywhere. So that drives liquidity, that drives everything. Now, there's risk in that because, it also spreads out your liquidity. But, the way Sam Kazemian does on the biz dev side of making sure everywhere you turn, you can find Frax, to me, I think I'd like to see more of that from Ohm. Now, I don't know if that fits the overall strategy and model, if that makes a ton of sense. pick one, pick Phantom, pick whatever, and permeate that chain first, and do as many deals as you can. Go to Spirit Swap, go to Spooky Swap, go to all of them, and do prominent things together so people see the brand, see unique offerings, see cool projects being launched. Really build out the whole. I mean, it's what you and I talk about all the time. The number one form of marketing besides memes in DeFi is business development. It is being present. It is leveraging users of other protocols, other chains, other swaps, whatever. And I think they're really missing. I think they're missing in that regard. It's not a brand that people see. The only thing left of the brand that people saw was massive crash, Wonderland, Ohm fork, crash, all other Olympus DAO forks, crash, right? That's what you have in people's head right now. And Ohm pricing continuing to drop. So what do, right? Like, how do you make sure people know you're legit, you're not dying, you have a shit ton of money, you have an avid community, you get out there and you're present, you're everywhere. So
yeah, change the story.
Yeah.
Change the narrative.
Exactly. Make everybody see you.
Yeah, everybody just sees doom and gloom right now.
Yeah.
And also just think about it. I mean, I started hearing about maybe I think I was on vacation, so I want to say June of last year. I don't remember when everybody started moving into it, but I think it was maybe April, May-ish timeframe. I guess my point is that it's less than a year right now.
Right.
And look at how long has Atom been around? Algorand. I mean, excuse me, Cosmos or Algorand.
Right.
Or Phantom even. I think Phantom's been around for like 5 years. And how long did it take them to get to where they are now? So with Ohm, we're still talking about 12 months right now. And, and they've got to, I'd be selling zero to where we are now. I wouldn't be selling, where it peaked.
Right.
I'd be saying in 12 months, we've done all this.
Exactly.
And go from there. I mean, that's the story, because that's a good story.
Absolutely.
It shows you can execute. And, most people, I mean, I've probably said this a bazillion times, is, you don't invest in a project, you invest in the people.
That's right.
And execution risk is something you have to really evaluate. And if you're dealing with big institutions, usually that's the first thing they'll say to throw you off the game. They'll say, it seems like there's some execution risk here, which is basically they're telling you to fuck off. You can't do it, or you're too stupid to figure it out. And so you have to, push back in a nice way, or a polite way, or in a way that gets to your end goal. So to me, I think they have demonstrated execution.
Yeah.
And that's what I do too.
I agree.
So,
yeah. Well, I think the other big thing is set expectations, right?
Yeah.
This thing rolled with all these people making millions of dollars as the price climbed and the rebasing was ridiculous. And nobody stopped and said, hey, just understand, people, this is going to drop. This is going to dump. This was not originally pegged to be at this price point. Everyone needs to be cautious. Like, that's the other thing. If you're launching a new project and you're, expecting kind of this big run up at the startup phase because people get excited and interested in you, you've also got to let people know that there's going to be a dump, right? That's anything that goes up parabolically or at a rapid pace where people are making millions of dollars and they're holding millions of dollars in those tokens. They're going to sell that because they want to take the millions of dollars home. I mean, that's what hit them with the cascading liquidations was one fucking guy selling $10 million worth of the token because he wanted to cash out and he had lost out on the higher price. That's what set off this entire downfall. So I think the other lesson is set your expectations, right? Don't make people think that everybody coming into this coin is going to be a multimillionaire. You've got to let people know that, hey, the APY is going to drop. Hey, the price is definitely going to drop. People are going to dump this coin. We're not going to continue operating the way we've always operated. We won't have these crazy APYs. Not everybody's going to make money. Just communicate, set expectations, let people know what's coming on the negative and the positive side.
Yeah. And also have, hold on. What is that?
James said, fuck off. We can't do it. My motivational quote of the day.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, no. And also, we've talked a lot about, I know the guy dumped at market, the one who did that one sell-off.
Yeah.
But I don't, he could have done that better, maybe.
Oh my
but
God.
it was coming. It was coming no matter what.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Eventually there was going to be a dump.
Yeah, it just is. You look at the chart. Yeah, so you got to have mechanisms in there when people are thinking about dumping. You know how, right when you're getting ready to push that button, some pop-up window says, "Hey, it looks like you're getting ready to sell." Did you ever think about, if you roll into this vault, you get, some multiplier effect if you do it in the next 60 seconds and lock it up for 90 days.
Right.
Something that gets them, if they're impulsive. I mean, if they're getting ready to dump, they're probably doing it in an impulsive way. As you said, then if you throw something up like that, it makes them think, well, fuck it. Maybe I'll just throw it in and get another 20% for 90 days.
Right.
And at least takes that, cliff off the equation when everybody unlocks at the same time.
That's right.
And so that's kind of, because, we talk about it, you see it in equities too, when IPO lockups end, and they kind of changed a lot of that to where, it used to be 6 months, but now they do some kind of rolling thing, amongst all the founders where, I don't know how they determine who gets what, but it's not all hitting at the same cliff point.
Exactly.
So it staggers a little bit, and they make it happen when they see volume. So I don't know what ohm volume was, but, if you see what your overhang is or your dump risk is, then, you want to spread that out across the volume for a few days so that it gets absorbed somewhat.
Exactly.
Lots of ways to do it.
Especially if you're not selling everything you have, right? Because he also fucked himself. He still has a ton of it. And it's like, you sent this, look, and it's not all his fault. I'm not saying it's all this seller's fault, but he started the downward point for Olympus DAO. It was going to happen eventually. I think you're right. But that sale also fucked the rest of his investment.
Yeah, which is another thing to think about.
Yeah.
It's no self-cannibalization.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. That's all my list, Joe. You got anything?
There was one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was this Tomb Forks. There's a lot of stuff out there about a bunch of rug pulls on Tomb Forks over on Phantom these days.
Well, that's not surprising.
Seem to be the perfect place, the Tomb Fork, for scams to thrive. But there's a code issue in there that they're talking about the Pulse DAO rugging, but they're talking about hard rugs and soft rugs. But it doesn't, it looks 2.8 billion in rug pulls last year. But there was something here.
Wonder who Harry Yee's fucking today.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I kind of went through the article. It talks about, like Pulse DAO, like they weren't really KYC'd with RugDoc. They had no audits, and liquidity is not locked with RugDoc, and they didn't have a multi-sig wallet. So a bunch of stuff that's kind of obvious.
Right. Well, look, again, it was kind of like the fucking Rebase tokens, right? It was like, oh, everybody's got to get into a Tomb clone. And so they did, and they got fucked.
Yeah. And so then it talked about like 5 days ago, Pulse DAO killed their Discord and Twitter channels and everybody's like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh yeah, it was just so negative. We just, got to focus. We can't be dealing with negativity. And I'm like, again, to what we said earlier, it's not like everybody has to be in the channel.
Right.
You put someone who there's a lot of people that thrive off negativity. I'm not one of them, but you put people in the channel that can do that. I mean, I could soften it, but I don't like to get in big brawls with people over shit like that. But it's just, kind of like just sends all the wrong messaging.
Yep.
So, when you kill Twitter and Discord, if you don't think everybody's going to dump whatever they got left at that point, you're not too bright.
Exactly. That's just some stupid shit.
Yeah, it was on it's on newsbtc.com, but it's just look up Tomb and rugged FTM based protocol. So evidently lots of smart contract issues there. But that was the only other thing I saw. And then also people are talking up Terra Luna a lot. So out rallying BTC and ETH in the near medium term. So
all right.
Take a look at that. But that's about it.
Yeah, I just really quickly want to talk about Peter Schiff, my favorite gold bug to hate. He had the fucking nerve today to tweet that
what did he say?
Zelensky should have put on a suit to talk to Congress because it showed disrespect for the United States and for the Senate.
Oh, fuck him, man.
What a fucking idiot. I want somebody to drag Peter Schiff's ass out to hang out with Zelensky for 5 days and see how much he fucking thinks he needs to wear a suit.
Yeah, in Kyiv, it's like dodging hit teams and missile strikes.
Yeah, go ahead. And go out on the streets and go visit people in the hospital knowing that the entire fucking Russian military wants to kill you. Just hang out with him for a day or two, Peter.
So you don't think they're going to go for the suit targets, I mean, that's like, the going for the command tank. It's the one with the big flag on it,
Exactly.
Nobody's shooting the other tanks. They're all looking for that one. So
what
just stupid.
Fucking idiot. It's just like, talk about think before you tweet.
Yeah, I don't. Again, that guy's probably old. Is my guess. Schiff, if he's a gold bug.
Oh yeah, no, he's old. He's like the famous. He has built his entire business, like his entire gold business, because he has services and I don't know, funds, whatever. But he built his entire business which I respect. Absolutely respect. He built his entire business ship posting about Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin maxis always respond to him, So he built up this huge following because he would just shit post about Bitcoin, how shitty it is, how it's going to dump. I'm sure he didn't even give a shit if what he was saying even made sense. He just wanted to piss them off. So he had all these massive engagement on his tweets. And then all these people that actually were interested in gold will follow him and maybe buy, which it's worked. He's built a gigantic business. Interestingly enough, his son is a crypto fan. So his son is constantly tweeting about what a dumbass old man his father is. So it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, that guy, gold was always the kind of risk-free hedge for everyone, and currency, et cetera. How many gold bars can you actually carry through an airport? I'm going to say 0.
Exactly.
Number one. And two, when he goes against BTC like that, he's also getting all the old cranks too that didn't invest in it. And they need to rationalize in their head why they didn't invest when it was at $2,000, $3,000.
Exactly.
And so they're like, oh, it's shit.
He's right. Bitcoin sucks. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all marketing.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant marketing. Be the enemy of the thing so that the people who actually are interested will keep seeing your name and then they'll buy from you. It's brilliant. He built an entire brand that way. So
yeah, well, it's always, you sift through a lot of channels as I do, and you do see a lot of, people that are just chronic negative types in there. Yeah. And, but, to me, it's always about they're pissed at themselves for not selling, or they're pissed at themselves for not buying. So it's like, just shut the fuck up and buy something or sell something, and get it right next time. I don't get it right every time.
Of course not.
I can think of a few things that were sitting at $500. I wish I had sold more of that are now at $10.
Yep.
I can think of a few things that were at $2. I wish I would have sold more of that are at like 2 cents right now. That's what happens. But, I did sell some.
Sure.
And I loaded up some more. So, when I talk about holding, it's just waiting for a return at that point when it's cheap. But, you can't. Good traders know that you have to learn from your mistakes, but you also flush them.
Yeah.
And go to the next thing and find the next thing. And eventually you get them right. And when you get them right, that's when you got to sell on the way up.
That's right.
Not all of it, trim it on the way up so you have ammo or dry powder, but don't sit around whining about it. I mean, to me, that's just that's just the lamest sort of dialogue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So don't piss on everybody else's Wheaties, man up or lady up.
Accept
or
where you are, dude. Accept your reality and move on.
Yeah. I'm sure this guy's made a killing in gold.
Oh, he's made a fucking fortune.
But he should be selling some about now is my guess.
Probably. I'm sure he is. Like, at the end of the day, he just wants more people to buy his shit. I'm sure he makes more on services than he's made in gold.
I haven't looked at gold prices in the last week, but I did see that, oil has been cratering again.
Yeah.
Down below 100 a barrel. So
down below 100 a barrel, but the prices keep going up. So what does that tell you about the oil companies?
Yeah, they're not our friends.
No, they are not. They are
not. They're going to gash everybody right now. I mean, that's what you see happening. It's the banks, the oil companies, they all do it constantly. Yeah. And that's kind of what not so much oil, but that's sort of the promise of, with crypto is at least you could control the narrative yourself.
That's right.
If you're smart.
Well, Biden was
anyhow,
smart right now. He'd come hard after the oil companies.
Yeah, I think he wants to. I mean, I see
He
the
should.
Republican Party FUD coming at him. It's, but then I saw some data that there's like 9,000 drilling permits that have been approved that are sitting there, and the oil companies aren't drilling it. And line that was coming down through
The
Canada.
Alaskan. Yeah, I don't know.
No, the tar sand one going through the U.S. got killed off. And that wasn't even oil and gasoline coming into the U.S. market. That was to be exported out of I think Houston or something. So, the people just want to all go drill, baby, drill, and we don't really need it. That's not going to lower the price at the pump. What's going to lower the price at the pump is stop driving so much if you can. I know some people can't, but if you can, and cut off demand, that lowers the price.
That's right.
And doesn't matter if we ban 10%. I think 10% of our oil was coming from Russia. Yeah. Doesn't matter if we ban. That's not the event. And if you're pissed about that, well, shame on you.
Yep.
You need to rally around the flag now and get your shit together and stop.
Well, we produce enough oil in this country to more than suffice for our needs. So it's just that we ship most of it out, or a big chunk of it out.
Yeah, there used to be a law up until like maybe 5 years ago where you couldn't export oil from the U.S. It had to be, and they loosened that up. I don't remember in which administration, but they loosened that up because they wanted to export it. So, maybe it's time to rethink that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm all for LNG exports to Europe and places like that, or pipelines of LNG from Algeria, which I think there already are, or Libya or Tunisia or any of those places into Europe. But, that's something that we could export, because I think we're at least the second largest oil producer in the world.
Oh, yeah.
We were number one for a while.
Yeah.
But I think Russia was maybe we're number one again.
Yeah, maybe we are now. We're number one.
But this is just stuff that, this is what happens in economies that are this robust and huge. Yep. So, crypto is a way to kind of control your destiny if you take the time to learn how to do it safely.
That's right.
So anyhow, I'll leave it with that. But
all right, dude, have a good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. We love you. We appreciate you. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube.
Did anybody hear if there's an interest rate decision yet out? Do we know?
Oh, I haven't seen anything yet.
Let's check real quick.
Let me see. I don't see anything in my discussion.
Real quick, just check one thing. Fed meeting is interest rate set to rise. It's 13 minutes ago, 12 hours ago, 1 hour ago. And it's not out yet. It's probably out in an hour, is my guess. But we'll see. Again, I think everybody says 25 to 50 bips. I mean, I might want to see 50 at this point, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be 25 just to not freak everybody out.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Thank you, everybody. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. We love you. We appreciate you. Feel free to reach out if you have some ideas, thoughts, or feedback. Take care.
Cool. Bye, everyone. Bye, Brad.
Bye, buddy.